Hey, you guys, what's up? So, this is my first time ever going live on YouTube. So, just bear with me as I figure out the So, this is my first flow time ever of this. One second, I'm going to get a few people on. So, hold a second. I'm going to share this to my Facebook. Oh, I can't. Of this. One second, I'm going to get a few people on. So hold a second. I'm gonna share this to my Facebook. It won't let me, guys. Oh, can't. Let's see. Of this. One second. How y'all doing? People join. So hold a second. I'm gonna share this to my Facebook. One second. It won't let me, guys. Oh, can't. Let's see. Of this. One second. How y'all doing? People join. So hold a second. I'm gonna share this to my Facebook. I can't. It won't let me, guys. Oh, can't. Let's see. And there's an echo. Let's figure out why there's an echo. I can't. Okay, so I'm testing this out. So, it's the first time for everything. I wanted to test this out to see how it would work. And there's an echo. Okay, so I'm testing this out. So, it's the first time for everything. I wanted to test this out to see how it would work. And there's an echo. How about now? Is there still an echo? Yeah, there's a second voice in the background. I want to test how it would work. So I'm gonna come in on my phone, guys. I'm just testing this out. So if you're here, hey y'all. If you're here, what is up? It's late night. I'm up. And I want to share some powerful information, and I'm grateful to have you guys in YouTube because you may not know me personally. So I'm going to introduce myself to you all and share a little bit about who I am, what I do. And I want to share some powerful little nuggets for y'all tonight. Let me try to figure out this. I'm going to introduce myself to you all. I'm just trying to see if there's an echo on this side. I am what I do. One moment. And I want to share some powerful little nuggets for y'all to see. Okay, it shows Code for Legacy is live. All right, and I'm going to share this to my Facebook page. I want to share some powerful little nuggets for y'all to see. Okay, it shows Code for Legacy is live. All right, and I'm going to share this to my Facebook page. I want to share some powerful little nuggets for y'all to see. Okay, it shows Code for Legacy is live. All right, and I'm going to share this to my Facebook page. Let's see, guys. What's up? Okay, I'm doing some ad highlights on Facebook. There's an echo, so I'm going to be watching Facebook for a minute to see if you guys hear an echo. Okay, I'm doing some ad highlights on Facebook. There's an echo, so I'm going to be watching Facebook for a minute to see if you guys hear an echo. Okay, I'm doing some ad highlights on Facebook. There's an echo, so 1 second, guys. So there is an echo, but I'm trying to figure out why. So give me just a minute to figure out why. I think it's fixed. Okay. What's up, you guys? Hey, YouTube land. This is Dr. Michelle Debbie Cole for the PivotHER. And I'm just excited because this is my first time going live in YouTube. And, I was going to go live on Facebook. And I said, you know what? Let me just try going live on YouTube since I have never done that. So if you guys are watching me in YouTube, hello. If you're watching me on Facebook, hi there. Listen, so it's a Saturday night, guys, and I'm up. I'm up because This morning I wasn't feeling so good, and so I slept to probably about 3 o'clock today. So I have an immense amount of energy now that I'm feeling better. But as I was sitting here, I began to think about a consultation that I had earlier this week with a client. And I said, let me just go on here and share with them some of the things that came out in that consultation that I think is befitting for everyone to hear, right? And so I spent a few minutes kind of recapping, what I discussed with the client, and I want to share that information with you guys here. If you are watching this from Facebook, which I'm gonna try to pull that up so I can see the level of engagement, because I have no idea how the engagement works on YouTube since this is the first time I've ever been live. But let me just get over to the Facebook. Un momenta. Let me just get over to the Facebook to see what's popping over here. And if you guys have any questions while I am live, if you got any questions at all, then definitely drop them in the chat over here on the Facebook. I'm gonna pull that up right here, and then that way I can come in and I can, answer any questions that you guys have, and I can engage with you all regarding any commentary at all. Okay, so I'm going to get started, and I'm not sure, if YouTube favors short videos over long videos, etc. I don't have a clue, but I want to come on here and talk about a few things that, as I said earlier, were discussed with a client and I. And so I want to pull those into a conversation with you all, whereby, as a coach, the pivoter, Michelle W. Kofer, I can show you some simple things to help you pivot to prosper. And so I want you to understand, number one, that I'm going to share some things, but I'm not job bashing at all. I'm going to share some things, but I'm not, condemning anybody who chooses to have a traditional 9 to 5 job. Why? Because I had one for over 16 years before I became a full-time entrepreneur. And yes, for those that will argue that, everybody can't be entrepreneurs because somebody got to be in the workforce. That is true, but there are people who should be entrepreneurs who still go to a 9 to 5. And so I'm going to talk about a few things that were a part of a conversation I had earlier this week with a client that I was coaching. But since it's my first time on YouTube, let me introduce myself, okay? I'm Dr. Michelle Kofer. I'm actually affectionately known as the Pivoter. I'm a minister. I've been called to preach the gospel now since 2008. I've been preaching the gospel, and I love the Lord, and I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I'm a kingdom entrepreneur, and that comes across in my conversations, and I can't help it because it's who I am. I'm a mom. I have an amazing 9-year old, and I have a beautiful 21-year-old bonus child who's almost out of college now this year. She'll be graduating. I'm a friend to many, including, friends who I've been friends with for now decades, relationships that span over 35 years. And so that says a lot about an individual. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I got into entrepreneurship in 2015. I actually launched my first business, which was a t-shirt company, Trinity's Apparel, which was a Christian t-shirt company. And after, successfully building that business and it succumbed to a fire, I got into financial services and direct sales. And so over the years, I've become a coach to many, a small business owner coach. So I love working with new startups. I love working with aspiring entrepreneurs and people who are going into entrepreneurship. But I'm also a network marketing professional. And so I mentor literally and have mentored thousands of people in the network marketing space. I've been the top of 3 companies, and if you consider the short stint I spent in one for about 2 months, I actually rose to the top in that company. But I've been the top of every company I've been a part of, and I'm a financial literacy coach. So that is what I really, really love to do. I love educating. If you stick around with me, that is what I'm going to talk about in this call today. well, on this Zoom tonight, rather. It's not today, or it's tonight, and it's not today. It's definitely tonight. But yeah, I'm going to talk about that. But I've been doing that for 8 years. It took me out of corporate America. I got certified in credit repair in 2018. So that's been 7 years. I'm certified in cognitive behavioral therapy and moral recognition therapy. So I am all about the mindset and re-triggering, not re-triggering, but altering how the mind responds, even to old triggers and new information around processing information that is contrary to your norm. And then I'm also a leader. I've been a leader in the workforce and the business space now for over 19 years. So before I was a leader in the business space, I was a leader in corporate America. My first 4 years of my career were spent in social work, just as a worker, but the rest of those years were spent in management and leadership. And I've led a lot of people. I've managed tons of people at one time across, multiple cities. I've managed, people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 programs at one time. So I am accustomed to that. I've led organizations over 10,000 people. And, I just love, love, love business. So, and I wish I would have discovered business sooner. And why am I telling y'all this? Because y'all may not know me. I'm just getting to know you. You getting to know me. My first time ever doing a YouTube live. So I feel like it was necessary to share these things because you don't know me. But I've scaled multiple businesses to multiple six figures, high multiple six figures. I've also mentored others to six figures and beyond, all the way up to over $500,000. Many of them have been millennials who are just, within my passion realm of working with younger people, newer entrepreneurs. And I'm also a published author. But tonight I want to talk about, 5 reasons why your job may be hindering your ability to build a legacy. I am all about legacy building, guys. I grew up in the projects, came from a single family home. My mom raised me on TANF and 8-FTC while struggling with a drug addiction that lasted my entire childhood, even into my young adulthood. So I, literally am a super resilient person. I've seen so many levels of opposition throughout my life, but I've always, by the grace of God, been able to overcome those. And I anchor my life around Romans 8:28. For we know that all things work together for the good of those who are love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. So I know that everything I've gone through in life, even up to this point, has meaning and it has purpose. And part of me coming on here tonight is really to give you guys a piece of me because I learned 8 years ago that while I loved what I did at work, it was never going to lead to a legacy. And this is bringing me back to the conversation I had with one of my clients this week. And so this individual is a high net worth individual. They have an amazing corporate job and they're so skilled though. Like, even with having a job that's paying them, mid six figure range, they're just so skilled beyond a 9 to 5. And they're looking at, okay, Dr. Kofer, how can I come out of this corporate job without feeling like I got to leave, over $170,000 sitting on the table? What can I do, and why should I do it? And I began to talk to them about the importance of remembering that the reason why we get up and go to work every day is for the people that we love and care about, our legacy. And that's why we get up and go to work anyway. So if we're getting up and we're going to work and we're working our fingers to the bone for our legacy, the people we love, what are we leaving? How will we honor the legacy even in our transition? So I want to just talk to you guys about those things. As I recollected, this is what I shared with one of my clients early this week. So let's talk about it. She makes a lot of money and she doesn't care that I'm sharing this with you guys because we've already had a conversation. Okay. So she doesn't care that I'm sharing this, but guys, I don't care. She's $170,000 salary. And I know some of you may be higher than that. And some of you may be lower than that. But even if you are one of the most highly paid people at your job, remember this, a job is a fixed salary. And even if you get bonuses, I've been in jobs where I had a flat salary and then I had bonuses. So one time I was managing one, two, three, I was managing three centers in North Carolina and I had a flat salary, but I also got a bonus based on the number of new contracts I was able to secure from the state of North Carolina to serve in a day program where I was working with individuals who were transitioning out of prison. And I was doing a lot of mindset training and coaching with them, and I supervise a team of licensed clinicians. And so one of the things I know is, even though I love that we got bonuses, even though I traveled with the company, I launched several other offices for that country. For that company. And they, covered all of my hotel and car and all of that. And listen, my coworker and I, my colleague Linda, we would when we went out of town for meetings, we would get like convertibles and all of that. They treated us well, but guess what? Even with the bonuses, it still was a fixed salary. All right. So no matter how much value you bring to your job, to the company you work for, it's still fixed. And why is it fixed? Because they don't go based on your capability, y'all. They go based on their budget. So if their budget is only going to allow them to, let's say, allocate 1 million in human resources and salaries and bonuses, it doesn't matter if you're the most talented person in the company. If the budget says we got a cap at 1 million, and between you and the other 400 people that work there, the budget has to cap. And so even though you may be a great contributor to the growth of the company, you're hitting all your metrics, your milestones, your annual reviews are meticulous and great, and you're really a shining star, your income is still limited. And so as I was talking to my client this week, I said, yeah, $170,000 is a lot of money. But what if all that you value, I mean, that you bring to this company that they value, what if that's worth 500,000? What if it's worth $1 million and you're choosing to settle for $170,000 a year when you have $1 million potential inside of you? That God created you, to flow in your gift, and the gift would make room for you. How is it that you're selling for 170? And so my coaching to her was not to quit her job. My coaching was to figure out how can you tap into what you already got, what you already do in your 9 to 5, which actually is not a 9 to 5 because she's a corporate employee who has a salary, which means some weeks she's pulling 50 hours. So $170,000, I don't know, like divide that by, a 50-hour work week. And are you really making that money after it's getting taxed? And so that's what I was coaching her around. Let's figure out a strategy whereby we can keep your job. You can still do things you love, but I can show you how to make money in those areas. And so, I'm grateful for clients who invest in themselves and, realize their potential. But here's the second thing, guys. And I had to say this to her. As much as you feel like you're valued in the workplace, you can't leave that to your kids, but what they're building will be left to their kids. Think about that. You're building somebody else's legacy. Nothing wrong with that. They had an idea, they had a dream, and they figured out how to execute that. And they understood the wealth principle of leverage, whereby they knew they had to have others working with them. So when they clock in at the end of the day, if they even come in, because some CEOs and execs that own the company you work for may never even show up there. They just call shots, right? But you go into work. My client goes into work and works sometimes 50 hours. And every time she clocks in, she's helping to expand their vision. She's helping to grow their net worth. And hers is limited unless she invests some of it, right? And so what we got to realize is the person who owns the company, they have systems, they're building equity, they have profits. They look at their year to date and they look at what they need to do to scale so that they can benefit. Are you hearing me? Let's stay woke so they can benefit. So yeah, you can make some money there, but ultimately who's benefiting? CEOs and executives typically do not write financial decisions to benefit the employees. Look at these big companies, some of y'all frequent, like Target and Lululemon and all that. Look up what the executives are making versus what the people working in the store are making, right? My daughter loves Lululemon. I guess that's why I brought that up. And we're grateful we can go in there and we're grateful we can purchase things and it's no sweat. But here's the thing, they paying people $8, $9 an hour. And look at what the corporate execs are making. So when you go to work, you're building someone else's dream. So don't ever be deceived to think that, it's a win, because it's not a win. It may be a perceived win, but if you are a person who's focused on building a legacy, it's time for you to pivot to prosper. I'm not saying quit your job. I didn't tell my client to quit her job. I'm saying you need a strategy. Everything you do helps build their legacy, not yours. And the moment you remember that, this message right here will begin to sting you. Every time you think about it, it'll begin to sting you, which is the whole idea of why I'm going live tonight. Because you guys, if you don't have ownership, you don't have wealth. America was built around ownership. People owned land, they owned agriculture, they owned people, they owned companies, they owned real estate. Are you hearing me tonight? So if you don't have ownership, you don't have wealth. You don't have an equity position in anything if you just go to a 9 to 5. And you might think, oh, I got seniority. And what does that equate to? Oh, okay, you get a window. How valuable is that to your legacy? Remember, the entire reason we get up and go to work every day is to provide for the people we love. Those people become our legacy when we transition on. So if you got a window in your office or you got a corner suite, in your mind, you've made it. You're no longer in a cubicle. Listen to me, I've been there. I have literally over the years, 16 years in my working profession, 8 years now as a full-time entrepreneur. I have not had a job in 8 years by the grace of God. I'm grateful and I'm unemployable, by the way. So don't offer me a job because I ain't taking it. So, but listen, and I say that humbly, because God is just too good. And I just know, once I had an inkling of what he had in store for me, I got to move in the direction of the blessing of that. And so a job would just be a hindrance for me. It would, and I'm gonna talk about that in a minute, but it would be a hindrance for me. It would actually slow me down. So, true wealth is tied to ownership, guys. Ownership of businesses, assets, intellectual property. Think about how much stuff you've created at your job, systems and workflows that even if you've had a prior job, they stayed with that prior company. I think about that all the time. I'm like, I've done so. Listen, guys, oh my goodness. One time I think I made about 36. No, I didn't. I didn't. So when I was working for 21st Century, which was a grant program, I had to fight with the people to give me $50,000 a year. But in exchange of a $50,000 salary, I had to have no benefits. Imagine that. Praise God, I didn't get sick, but I had to have no benefits. So they were trying to offer me like 36,000 plus benefits. And I'm like, we're not going to do that. You're asking me to manage 9 programs, and I am the forerunner in this development, meaning the grant is new to the county, and I have the entire responsibility of the vitality of this program. It's all on me. I can't work for $36,000. And so, anywho, we end up taking 50, which was stupid upon me, but I took the 50. And so, let me tell you, I created a system for 21st Century that moved all the way up to the state of Georgia level. Are you hearing me tonight? The system I created, the entire booklet and all of the templates and the strategies for program efficiency, my program became a model program for the state of Georgia. You hearing me? So when I got hired initially, I was supposed to manage uh all of the community centers. So let's see. A Star at the time was Lincoln Circle, Baltimore, Meredith Circle. I mean, sorry, Lincoln Circle, Baltimore, um, Ticknell, And oh goodness, one more. It was a site that was located in the projects. I can't think of the street. But anywho, four programs. I was supposed to manage four programs. And then what happened, they end up combining the and Reach J Booker. So I had five programs, excuse me. I have five programs and Reach J Booker. So five after school programs with the 21st Century Grant. And I hate to sound like I'm rambling, but I'm just showing you a point. Five programs I was supposed to manage. That's a lot of management, by the way. Okay. But they ended up adding the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. So that was eight programs, not nine. But ultimately, my program design became a model template. So I was managing the five. We added on the other, counties, and my intellectual property probably is still in use somewhere in the state of Georgia as somebody's after school program. You hear what I'm saying? But how much of that does my legacy get? $0. Because I haven't done that since 2000 and like 11, 10, right? So we're talking about 15 years ago, I created something that was in use all across the state of Georgia as a model template. So my IP is worth something. Your intellectual property is worth something, but you're not getting paid for it. So this is what I want you guys to hear tonight. Your job gives you income, not equity. You own nothing there. It will pay your bills, but it won't create debt freedom. Are you hearing me? Your job gives you income, not equity. You have to be smart enough, and this is what I shared with my client earlier this week. You have to be smart enough to making sure you're managing this money well and you're making this money grow. So if you're making 170,000 as a base salary, probably by the time that get taxed, right? You're probably bringing home about 103 or somewhere in there. What are you doing with that? And sadly, you guys, and she gave me permission to talk about this because it was a eye opening aha moment. Sadly, she's drowning in debt. So there is no money to invest. There is no money to put away to create equity opportunity, but she make 170,000. That's her base salary. And we love saying that. So all my high net worth people out there, listen to me. This is valuable tonight. Without ownership, you're always going to trade time and money. And so you can decide today, do I want to keep doing that and build a life where, it's always rob Peter to pay Paul, and then I get to retirement age, whatever that is, because who says you got to be a certain age to retire? Because I mean, I'm retired right now in my head. I can go fishing tomorrow if I want to and don't have Monday. Listen, this Memorial weekend. I don't have to wake up and go early and go nowhere, right? So, but without ownership, you're always going to trade time for money. And you got to decide how valuable is my time. See, we always put a dollar measurement around salaries and incomes and benefits and bonuses, but how much is your time worth? If you can make $170,000 at a corporate job, and I know some of you make 30,000, some of you make 26, some of you make 50, but if you can make that and every day you go to work, you feel like you're still underpaid, what is your time worth? Because you're selling for $8, $9, and if we make $15 an hour, we say that's good money, right? 12.50. If we're settling at 12.50 and $15, and even when you make $23 an hour, you're settling because what if your 23 was worth 230 an hour? What if you were worth 500 an hour? That's why I do not let people waste my time no more. I will give free information. I will work with people. I will love on people. I will pour into people. But if I'm working with you and I give you a strategy and you just go ghost or you don't execute, I cannot keep giving you my time. My time is valuable and so is yours. Okay. And then so number four, guys, again, I'm the pivot coach. Dr. Michelle Cofer here. Lack of freedom to pivot and scale. So if you go to a job, it's going to limit what you can do because you are mandated to be there for a certain amount of time. Even if you're like, well, I got an at-home job, because we saw how the pandemic opened up opportunities for us to work from home, but y'all seeing what Doge doing too. Them at-home jobs cut because they realized that at home mean you washing dishes, cooking dinner, all this other stuff, and the productivity is in major rapid decline. But just for a moment, imagine, you know, you have a job and you got to be there when they say be there. And even if you're creative, and let's say you're the most talented person on the team that you're a part of, if you're a part of a team and you have all this creative genius, all these amazing ideas, but you're not the boss, you're not the person in charge. Your idea comes out in a meeting, and two things happen. It either is tabled right in the meeting, or somebody else ends up taking the credit for it. If you're not in control of the decision making, you're not in control of the destiny. You're not in control of the money opportunity. If you're not in control, if you can't choose when to go in, how much you want to make, you're not in control. If you want to scale your income, y'all, you want to make a major impact and you want to live a life of purpose, you've got to have flexibility. You've got to have, the reins to be innovative, and you got to be able to take risks. But if I can not be available, let's say a training comes up and you can't go because you got to be at work. This training starts at 12 and it's on Zoom, but you can't jump on, even though it's going to help you and empower you. You can't jump on because at 12 you got a meeting already at work. You follow what I'm saying? So having those restrictions around your time also hinders you from being able to say yes to other opportunities, right? Other income opportunities, other investment opportunities. If something comes up and it conflicts with, the time you got to be at work or events that you have work related, you can't choose to be there. That's why I say, guys, people have to learn to pivot to prosper. And then number five, and we're talking about here 5 reasons, guys, that your job is not conducive to you building a legacy. And the fifth one is jobs do not prioritize legacy building. I mean, plain and simple. Let's put it on the bottom shelf. Your job, and I'm not job bashing because I worked for 16 years. Your job is to make sure you can survive, not thrive. You barely get by. The job is only going to put some food on the table and pay a few bills. It's not going to pay all of them. It's not going to allow you to, typically speaking, because there's outliers statistically, but it's not going to allow you to live a debt-free life. It's just not. It's not designed that way. It's just not designed. Jobs rarely offer a true pathway to financial freedom and security. It's just not made that way. Your CEO, your executive pays you to give them the ability to work from the beach. You can't choose to pick up your laptop and go from the beach. I remember even when I was a social worker, guys, we had beepers. Y'all remember beepers? We had beepers. Some of y'all is super foreign to you guys. But I mean, I'm talking about I hated being on call. I'm like, how am I off? But I got a beeper? That means I'm on your time 24/7. And yes, there have been times when I had to get up out my bed at 1 in the morning and go to strange places as a female, go request a police escort. And sometimes they wouldn't even come, but I didn't even own my time or freedom. On my days off, I still was on. Or I remember taking vacations and taking my laptop. Now when I travel, I ain't on no laptop. Laptop stays at home because I'm on freedom, right? And so careers, as lucrative as my client's career is perceived to be, she still don't have freedom. And I told you, she's still extending her budget beyond her income. Y'all, legacy is built through strategy. You have to be able to make strategic investments. And if you get up and go to work every day and you still broke and you still talking about paycheck to paycheck, then how are you going to leave a legacy? How are you going to leave something behind for your children? Land, homes, boats, businesses. What are you going to leave behind? Because even if you have favor at your job, you cannot will that job to your children. And even if you work in the same industry and your kids come behind you, and let's say they are an affluent doctor and they go into medical practice because that's what mama did, or they become a lawyer because mama was a lawyer. Mama works for a company. You can't give them that job because the company, the CEOs, execs, they're going to be looking for the next best talent to refill that. You might be an educator and your kids go and they become teachers too. But if something were to happen to you, your classroom is vacant and your child doesn't get to inherit that, nor do they get your salary. They're going to fall where they fall on the T4 schedule. So you might have had 20 years in education and you might be making 96,000 a year, but if they just got started, they making 42,000. Doesn't matter that it's your child. So a job is just not designed, you guys, to help us with prioritizing legacy. They're not built that way. They're not strategic. They don't allow you to have creative vision. It doesn't allow you to create systems that outlive you. I want to challenge you tonight. It's time to pivot to prosper. Even if you have a traditional job, you're working your 9 to 5 and you love it, it's time to pivot to prosper. I shared some data earlier on my page. Let me look at it real quick. I shared some data earlier on my page about the fact that by the end of this year, they're projecting that over 500,000 jobs will be lost just to the Doge cuts. Like that's 500,000 jobs, y'all. Let me see if I can tell you the statistics. 500,000 jobs will be lost by the end of this year. 500,000. Estimates suggest that Doge-related job losses could reach 500,000 by the end of the year, with already an estimated 58,566 federal workers who've been confirmed as laid off. That's almost 60,000 people who've come out of the workforce where they had quote unquote good jobs. They had perceived job security. And that's just the government. And we're talking about what about all the companies that have had shutdowns? What about the retail? What about the restaurants, right? What about, schools that are scaling back, whose budgets cannot afford to keep everybody hired? Like these are the realities, and I don't understand why people don't get it. You got to start a business. You got to. It's like, what? Like, even if you keep your job, nobody, listen, you guys, when I was promoting $1 for people to get into business with me, I didn't want to do it because I know how people have a poverty mindset. And I was right. Most of the people that signed up for $1 didn't do jack, and they still in a struggle bus. You invested $1 and had an opportunity to come in here and at least make 1,000 right quick and did not do a thing. So no, I don't talk about no dollar to get started with me in business. It's 129 or 289, which one you want. Why? Because guys, our mindsets are so frail. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it is time for you to pivot to prosper. Are you hearing me? We are going to face some of the darkest days we can, and you don't want to wait until the bottom falls out to get ready. Start preparing yourself now. Get ready now. Start doing things right now that will help you live a more affluent life later. And so what, you don't become a millionaire. You might not even make $100,000 a year by becoming a business owner. But if you're making money as a business owner, is taxed different than money you're making in the classroom, down at the local plant, in the hospital, wherever you're working. But I'm not even saying you got to quit. You got to figure out ways to still do what you love to do in a way that it doesn't incapacitate your gifts. It doesn't snuff out your vision for your legacy. And that's what this conversation is about. So if you are ready to pivot to prosper, you have questions about business, how to start a business, you are a business owner, you need to know how to scale a business, you want to start a business and don't have money and you need resource, you need somebody to help cultivate your vision, I want to render my services to you. MichelleWCofer.com. You can go on there and book a strategy session. But I'm telling you right now, this economy is the one where we've got to go get it, y'all. It's the wealth transfer. for real. We've got to go get it. And so I want to encourage all of you to heart, like, share this video, hit the subscribe button, comment down below. I know this was a little lengthy, but guess what? It's a late night money talk. I'm up. I'm up because I was asleep early today and nobody could tell me I couldn't take a nap because I wasn't feeling good. You know what I'm saying? Nobody said you got to come in. No, I asked the boss and she said, yeah, Michelle, lay on down. And I took my glasses off and I laid on down. So I want to just help you guys again. For those of you that have not met me, it's a pleasure. Come back again, okay? Take care. Bye bye.